lunch.
You are looking live.
Live at lunch. Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
What the hell's going on out here?
Now, here's Jimmy Ott and Charles Handegriff.
Yeah, for some reason or another, you sound a little taller on radio.
Is it live? Is it live? Is it live?
From Rufino's on Highland Road, welcome to the Friday edition of Live at Lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Charles Handegriff, Jimmy Ott, Jordan Kinchin's back in the studio. Max Gotro out on assignment. We're gonna get a report from him when he gets back.
We'll get a little taste. We'll talk to Troy Macker. He's with them.
Yeah,
the whole Baton Rivers crew is kind of they've been working remotely for years now, so they want to get the band all together in New York City and go kind of spend some time together.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. In the garden with the
overtime
Knicks.
game.
Yeah, so we'll get with Troy. Of course, Bruce Marshall will be with us. Another big weekend in college basketball. Chris Massaro with us. But last night,
Wes Reynolds has another bomb in the lead.
11 under.
Aldrich Potgeider. How about that?
That just rolls right off the tongue. Aldrich Potgeider.
Aldrich Potgeider.
I don't even know if we're saying it right.
I'm not sure, but
I can pronounce Ben Griffin. He's in second place.
Anyways, 4 birdies in a row, 5 under, front 9, getting right on the turn. He's got a 2-stroke lead at the Mexican Open, Charlie.
Okay. Guadalajara.
What did you just say off the air? I think they're playing in Mexico.
The Mexico Open is played in Mexico almost every year.
Vallarta, Mexico.
Vallarta? Okay.
Yes, Vallarta.
Got it. Last night, you and I, when we got here today, hit each other with the same thing. Did you watch the hockey last night? And, of course, the answer was yes. But for us, this is the rarest of rare, okay? For people that have been watching sports as long as we have, and we're not hockey nuts, we dabble a little, but we're not hockey nuts.
Arm's length at best.
Yes. To create an event, basically out of thin air, that we not only care about, but deeply care about to the point where we want to watch. I told you, you said, did you watch hockey? I said, I watched every second of the hockey. I did things last night that are not normal for me. First of all, I was on at 7 o'clock because I wanted to see the pregame, the anthem stuff, okay? You went further than that. You were on pregame even before I was. I watched this game from the time they dropped the puck, including all the pregame stuff, until McDavid put one in the net, and even after that, watch the postgame reaction to that. I didn't watch anything else. Ordinarily, I'm watching 2, 3, 4 games at one time. Not doing that. I'm watching this and only this. I clicked over the LSU women's game during intermission for a little bit, but that was it. Watched the whole thing. Wasn't talking to anybody else. I mean, my wife watched with me, and doesn't care about how she was enthralled in it. This has got my 100% focus from start to finish. And it doesn't involve any standings. It doesn't involve any local team to me. It's not something that has been brewing for years and years as far as right. It was just compelling hockey from two teams that absolutely wanted to win this game and felt like their life depended on it, even though it didn't. And when the best player in the world, Connor McDavid, I know that much, I guess, scores this goal, and you see the emotion on his face like he's just won everything he can win, and this guy's, the best.
See him leap on the skates.
Yeah. I mean, this is pure unbridled joy. This is the kind of thing you usually see only, a Super Bowl or World Series, something like that. But it's something you usually see out of high school kids before you get jaded into the whole business end of it, and you just play because you love the game and you want to win more than anything, and you're with your friends, you're with your, your teammates, and you just got this look on your face like, man, this is everything. And on the other side, the Americans who busted it last night, man, they gave everything they got, at least as far as I could tell. They wanted that crestfallen, that the thrill of victory, the agony of defeat, that just, man, we laid it out here. This event that nobody knew existed 2 weeks ago got everybody's undivided, I don't say everybody, but it got my undivided attention. It got your undivided attention. And in sports, that's hard to do. to get our complete undivided attention, it's got to be something really big. It's got to be something that is probably tradition. LSU, Alabama, the Super Bowl or something like that. This had my attention for 4 hours last night, Jimmy, and it was great. I'm not going to tell you I'd do it again next week and the week after that and the week after that the way we do with college football. But last night, this had me.
So I couldn't sit there and promote Sammy's crawfish all day without going get some at 5 o'clock. So went over there, and the server says, "You the same ESPN guys that were here earlier?" Yeah, I'm back. Sorry. You got a 5-pound tray and a cold beer. So went back, put on the pregame. Pregame was great. Had the Kachucks, the Kachuk family, and the Kachuk brothers and the parents, and they, with an interviewer, and they were sitting there and they were talking, and it was compelling stuff, man. It was the dad is so. I mean, this is your baby brother's biggest game. He hadn't been in a game 7. You take care of him. I mean, it was just so good, man. It was unbelievable, and it was good. That's what the pre-games are about, to sort of build and sort of add layers of the storyline, to what's going on. Some are so lame, and some that's overdone, but this was I just ate it up. Had a little college basketball on one, in an NBA game and another one, but the sound and the big screen in my media room was on the hockey, and it was just great. And they were just, okay, how are we going to do with the national anthem? You see that they announce it, so it's kind of a hard deal to attend. I mean, they dampened that. They expected, and it would have been much worse if they didn't make a stern announcement right before O Canada. Period. You still had some.
Yeah.
You still had some, but it was,
Then they started singing along about halfway through.
they dampened it. It just so anyway. But these, and Charlie, this is so funny. We discuss and we debate so much, but we are so on the same. I can't believe he even brought up the old wide world of sports, because back in the days where there wasn't a gazillion games on Saturdays, it was the wide world of sports. Then they would do some skiing, they would do some cliff diving, they would do some boxing.
The Globetrotters were on every night.
They would do, whatever it was. Cosell's interviews with Ali would be part of it, the whole thing. And in the introduction, the thrill of victory. In the agony, that was it. That camera caught. I mean, that dude was flying on his skates, where I'm sure he's the highest paid. He's the best player in the world. He's the highest paid. But that was authentic. It wasn't staged. It wasn't, hey, give me my little handshake that we rehearsed 70 times in practice. No, it was authentic, genuine excitement, celebration with his teammates. And then you show the American Bank, and they are freak. Damn. They had it. We were so, how many times? One thing you got was the U.S. has a big advantage in the pipes. No, because that dude won it in overtime. How many of those 6 saves should have gone in? 1 or 2, 3? It was competition. We won our players. How could they care anymore? It was so.
The checking is what. In an
so
all-star game,
good,
I'm not going to tell you I watched a bunch of hockey all-star games, but the checking is probably not. Just like the tackling in the Pro Bowl was, hey, look, man, just go to the ground. We're not going to hurt anybody. No, they were after it last night.
I got a good, and they were like, well, Connor McDavid and Sidney Crosby, they just got to get them in more open space. And finally the other guy says, this is a better team than they face on a regular basis in the NHL. This collection of U.S. players, they're better.
Yeah.
They're more talented. So maybe isn't that a cool? No. So maybe you can. It's just the opposite with all-star games or exhibitions. It embarrassed everything. Listen, the Pro Bowl is dead. You can't. The physical nature of that sport, and now they're asking them to play more games than ever, which is we're here for safety, but until it affects our pocketbook. You can't ask those football players to anymore, and I think we can accept it. To play basketball, man, y'all should be real embarrassed. period.
Yeah.
Because basketball is, man, we're going to play at the Y on Tuesday or whatever, our pickup games at Glasgow, whatever, wherever we going. I mean, the 8-foot goals, man, back when you're high school, throw it down, whatever, man, we're going to play. And even Kobe said, man, this should be the best pickup game in the world. And, I mean, we get to, but they should be really, really embarrassed. But the hockey wins, man. It wasn't the result that we're pulling for in this state, and I'm kind of really makes it a little aggravating seeing some of the when Trudeau said you can steal our, but you can't steal our gang. I mean, come on, we keep the politics. The politics added a little spikes to this. I guess you can't have it without them,
Trump's trolled him so many times. I don't want to get political, but Trump's trolled him so many times. Him snapping back was completely expected. Okay.
You pay more attention than I do.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he had that coming.
But it's it was awesome. It was awesome. And if you want to talk about it, the Russians got to be involved. That mean are they great? They have accomplished more as in hockey than the U.S. has, and they need to be involved.
They're easier to fit for the black hat. The Canadians are not real villains, okay? This was just high-level hockey. The political stuff threw some gas on the fire, but the Russians are real villains, okay? I thought about last night, I thought about Michaels' call before the legendary game with the Russians in 80, and he said, it doesn't matter if you know the difference between a blue line and a clothesline. This game matters to everybody because the Soviets, okay, they were easy to fit with the black hat, okay? They just invaded Afghanistan and all that. This, you had to care about it. The Russians are a lot easier to fit for the villain's role than the Canadians are.
Well, it's whatever path they take, it's easy. Whether you want to do it every 2 years to copy the Ryder Cup, I think that's the most logical, approach on this thing. But it gives it, That's pretty cool. We want our athletes, your words and mine that we've used before, we want our athletes to care as much as we do. Man, couldn't they care anymore? Man, poor Kachuk. Did you see his dad in the stands? I mean, devastated. It was
like they lost Game 7 of the Stanley Cup.
And it was great theater. It's what sports should be. And you were talking about Beck yesterday, the quarterback from Georgia's down at Miami. You say, this is aggravating us as old guys. Really, you need a Mercedes and a Lamborghini? But keep in mind, this is hurting him. And I think the point you were getting at is that quote that is more common now. We want to find the football players that care about football as opposed to the guys that like what football affords them.
Yeah.
This is a classic case with all kinds of, warning signs. When you got multiple luxury cars, when you don't need them, you leave in a great situation, for a mediocre situation. The whole bit. So, man, thank for hockey for reminding us why we love sports.
If you care, we'll care. The care level of it will be reciprocated, good or bad. It was so good. It was so good. And I mean, who would have known, huh? I mean, and Charlie, you brought up yesterday. You brought the Magic thing, the All-Star game. I had lost the All-Star game way before that. I don't mean to rain on your point parade, but I thought that was scripted. How they let Magic do some of the things he did, and you just don't. It probably was.
It was. Yeah. It was scripted. You don't allow him to do what he wants to do, and you're trying to win a game. Okay, there was a compassion thing, and that's fine. That's a human. But that, that's humanitarian, and that's nice. And Magic was going through some illnesses, and he's brought a lot to the game. And okay, if you want to do that with your game. Ain't nothing scripted last night, bro.
There was nothing. No.
Nothing.
I agree wholeheartedly. Thumbs up.
But it was great.
Hockey guys.
Buffalo oysters over here is one of our appetizer features here this Friday at Ruffino's. Also the shrimp cocktail, the poach. Damn, Hal's already got the shrimp cocktail, huh? Look at those jumbo shrimp over there, Charlie. The poached tail on the Gulf shrimp, cocktail sauce with the Napa cabbage slaw. Entree features today and this weekend here at Ruffino's. Sea bass, pan-seared Chilean sea bass with the mushroom thermidor capellini. Suggested wine pairing is a Peugeot Chardonnay out of Napa Our steak feature this weekend is a dry-aged strip with the dry-aged prime New York strip, lobster imperial sauce with roasted Brussels sprouts with a chili glaze. Suggested wine pairing is a Turnbull Cabernet out of Napa. In our dessert feature this weekend, strawberry shortcake tiramisu with the ladyfingers soaked in sweet milk, whipped cream, custard, and fresh strawberries. Outstanding over here at Ruffino's.
Live at Ruffino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch.
Thibodeau Store, 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and ThibodeauStore.com. Listen, spring right around the corner, so you start making preparations for some of those things you're going to do. Maybe you're in the garden. Some of the seed starting potting soil is available now on the website at big discounts. If you've got a lot of this stuff that you need to spread once the cold has moved on, get it now and save a bunch of money. Also, your power washing equipment from DeWalt is on special right now on the website too, so you can get those items. Big green egg cookers like Jimmy ordered a couple of weeks ago. The ultimate cooking experience. Tons of grills, jambalaya, and crawfish pots. So get ready for spring. And a lot of these items, not all of them, but a lot of these items are available for free delivery if you go to ThibodeauStore.com. Looking for lumber? That's out of their sister property, the Pierre Parts Store. Celebrated their 113th year anniversary last year, so they know what they're doing. Get those specials advantage right now. 900 St. Patrick Highway in Thibodeau, and online it's ThibodeauStore.com.
Live at lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Let's go out to San Diego. Chris Massaro, who is from San Diego, but he's a Boston native. Well, you talked to some of your boys back home, man. The atmosphere seemed awesome, Chris. And listen, I mean, you know, us watching hockey is kind of trying to dissect Chinese arithmetic to a degree, but we know them cats were after it. And what a great atmosphere last night at Boston.
Yeah, I concur 100%, and it's just one of the cooler things is that so many of the guys on the U.S. team have such deep connections to either Boston or because they played college hockey there, or they grew up in Massachusetts, or even have Marchand on the Canadian team who plays for the Bruins. It's just the connection, like Mike Sullivan, the head coach, he's grew up down the South Shore in Marshfield and Hingham, and he's been a legendary coach for the Penguins, and there's just so many different connections, and the guys all coming back and to have the game in Boston. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but I had a few buddies there at the game. I seen a lot of videos, a lot of cool stuff, a lot of patriotic stuff. It was a great night, except for the fact they didn't pull it off. And I have a couple buddies that I know live down the Cape where the Kachuk brothers' dad, Keith Kachuk, who played for St. Louis, Winnipeg, Phoenix for all those years, only one of a few guys, American-born players, that 500 goals. They get to play golf with him a bunch, so pretty cool. I've got some great stories from my buddies about both Matthew and Brady. So even though I've never met them or hung out with them, I feel like I kind of like a little bit part of my thing. So awesome night. Hopefully they can figure out a way to do it either every year, every other year. Maybe include the Russians, but yeah, it was what a great tournament. I think it kind of united the country. It was great.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. It was pretty cool. Were you what'd you think about when you were watching it during the game? It was kind of a flip of the coin game, huh? I mean, did you really couldn't tell who was at? I mean, Canadians jump out early and say, okay, well, all right, they're going to revenge spot. They're going to turn it up, and I don't know, man. And they had a lot of the possessions. They had more shots on goal and more possession time, in the Americans' zone. And then it started flipping the other way, and certainly in overtime, the Americans had their chances. That's what it looked like to us.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like in the first period, Canada definitely had the advantage. It looked like U.S. wasn't going to even have any attempts on goal, and then they got the late goal to tie it up, and then they go to intermission, and the U.S. comes out like they were on melatonin during the break. They had nothing going on. Canada had the first 9 shots in the second period, but the Bruins were able to the U.S. was able to get the lead 2-1. They committed kind of a stupid penalty, but they get to the third up 2-1. They tie it up. It was just seemed like it seemed like there were waves of the game where it was like 6 minutes or so where the U.S. dominated or then Canada dominated. And like you said, in overtime, the U.S. totally dominated, but you see that often in overtime hockey where one team gets so many opportunities to score, they're not able to do it. Bennington stood on his head, and then they get the one opportunity the other way, and you see that happen all the time. You get all those opportunities, and the other team comes down and scores. So you can't really say anything bad about it. It was an exciting game, overtime, the best players in the world. It was just fantastic.
All right, let's get to college basketball. We got a good one tonight. Michigan and Michigan State. Dusty May doing a good job in this. So you can see, first-year coaches, how did those teams improve over the course of the season? They're playing better ball as of late. Michigan State doing their thing as well. So 2.5 at home tonight. What's your thoughts on tonight's matchup?
Yeah, I played a little Michigan State last night at +3. I'm not taking anything away from Michigan. They're having an absolutely great season. The net loves them. They're top 20 almost, I think, in both offense and defensive efficiency. They got the big guy Wolf, who's just do everything. Offensive rebounder, shooter. He's just a great player. But if you look at Michigan's last 9 games, they had an overtime loss way back against Minnesota. They had an overtime win against Northwestern. Then they were blown out by Purdue. Since then, they've had 6 straight wins. But if you look closely, they've only won the 6 games by a total of 19 points. None more than 4 points. Not exactly a murderer's row. They beat Penn State, Rutgers, and Oregon. And then in the Indiana game, that game was tied, or 59-58 with 3 minutes to go. They end up pulling that one out. The Purdue game, they were down by 8 with 10 minutes to go. They pulled that one out. And then the Ohio State game on Sunday was total toss-up. Bruce Thornton misses basically a layup. He airballs a 2-foot layup with 2 seconds to go. So these games could have gone either way. It just seems like Michigan is just having a little bit of a luck factor. I think that the Michigan State defense, they get some bigs down low that they're going to be able to thwart the big guy from Michigan a little bit. And I just think, Dusty May, he's having a great season, but it's his first year coming into a huge rivalry, Michigan State. I think Izzo is going to have a little bit of pride here, and I like the 3 points in a game that's probably going to go down to the wire again, as all the Michigan games have.
What's your thoughts on Wolf and how they use him? Because he's basically he's basically a point center. I mean, now they have the 2 7-footers, he and Golden, but they like to put him out and ISO him and sort of let him create. Now he loves to pass, but before I weigh in, what's your thoughts on him and how May uses him?
Well, I don't want to give him too much high praise. I mean, I definitely think he's going to be an NBA player. He has the range for three-point land, and he's not afraid to get down low and rebound as well. And like you said, he's just like a point forward. He's almost like a Nowitzki or a Bird type of player that's able to see the floor. 1, because he's tall, and 2, he's got instinctive to make the right passes. And when you get a good coach like May utilizing him as well. And I listened to a podcast last night saying that May has been so good drawing up these plays in the last minute of games that they are getting a little bit lucky and are winning some games by close margins, 3 points or less. But it's because the ability of May and maybe the ability of Wolf as being a combo as both really intelligent people to make the right read and make the right pass and draw up the right play late in the game. So, I mean, like I said, I'm not taking anything away from Michigan. Right. I just think the luck factor might run out, and 3 points is a little much in a big rivalry with Izzo. So give me the 3 with Sparty tonight.
I think we might be on opposite sides on this one. I think that Michigan is improving because of it, and there's no doubt. You play enough close games, you're going to lose some eventually. But I just think that when I'm watching them, it was a game that really stuck out to me, the Northwestern game, where they were favored by a substantial amount, and it was another one of those 50-50 games that they pulled out at the end. I mean, why do they keep running through this damn clumsy-ass white boy? I mean, he is dribbling off his shins. He's turned over left and right. I mean, it's over. Well, he does. And Chris, for the season, it's a 1-to-1 ratio. He's turned the ball over every bit as much as he had assists. So that's not – but he does have this some people get bothered with unique, at least a distinct set where he is a big guy. He does have good handles, and he loves to pass. And so he can, and maybe I think that part of it is getting more smoother. The execution of that is getting a little smoother over the course of the season because it was flat out clumsy earlier in the season. I'm like, why is he forcing this? And I'm starting to see why a little bit. And I think it's got something to do with it, that comfort level of being, because he'll put it on you. You better be ready for your pass because he will put it on you, and it's coming hot when it comes. So I don't know. He's just a real unique skill set that, and I thought it was overused early, that I think I'm starting to see why he was trying to get this thing to perform at a higher level of execution.
Well, we'll have to see tonight. I'm sticking with my play, and it's going to be a great game. I mean, Michigan State kind of, they were a little, they're kind of heating up right now. They had 2 good wins over Illinois and Purdue. I just think they got the bigs to handle the Michigan's been getting a lot of second chance points, and I think the bigs for Michigan State were going to kind of negate that a little bit, and we'll see. It's a really good game to have on a Friday night. I'm excited to watch.
There's no doubt. Golden is highly efficient. I mean, 64% from the field. When he does go out and shoot an occasional 3, 45%. So, I mean, he's really, and you talk about those second chance points. He's been doing a lot of that as well. Chris, your angle last week, and how about that with Minnesota? Down big early. UCLA, after some extensive travel, comes back home, but in a spot where they're a double-digit favorite, so they're not exactly thrilled or motivated with the matchup in sort of an XL spot. Not only does Minnesota come back and backdoor cover, they come back and win the game. UCLA really brutal at the line coming down. But everybody's chomping at the bit. We don't have those situations because where all of the everything falls into play for this, for this system, for this angle. But a couple of road weary teams coming back home, Houston and Minnesota tomorrow.
Yeah, I really the one that jumped off the page for me was the Houston-Iowa State game. Now, Houston, again, we're not taking anything away from them. They've had a great game. They nipped me last week with my Arizona play, even though Arizona was up 5 with 4 minutes to go. And I went and brushed my teeth. I come back. We're down 7. I didn't know what happened. Oh, my God. But so Houston, they just took care of business in Arizona. They beat, as I mentioned, the Wildcats and the Sun Devils Tuesday night. So they're coming back, and Ken Palm has this game as Houston -9. This Milan Momcilovic, who just came back from Iowa State, the Cyclones are 18-1 with him. They're 3-4 without. So he missed that little stretch where they lost 3 in a row. He's averaging 10.4, 3.2 rebounds, a 6'8" sophomore forward. Really good player, makes everything run for Iowa State. So this game jumped out at me because Iowa State buried Houston in the Big 12 tournament last year. And I feel like based on the travel angle, based on the fact Iowa State's healthy, and based on the state that Iowa State's a damn good basketball team, top 10 in both, offensive and defensive efficiency on the Ken Palm rating, I could see this game going down to the wire. You can give me the 9 points if I can get it. That's great. I hope the line comes out that high. But I'm thinking that Iowa State has a decent chance to win. A decent chance to win this game. So 7.5. They're smarter than I thought. But yeah. I just think this is a game where Iowa State might have a chance to win it at the end.
All right, Minnesota in Penn State. Penn State smashed. Who was that the midweek this week? That was Nebraska. Nebraska. Nebraska fell behind against Northwestern, came all the way back. They didn't come back in this one at Penn State. Minnesota getting better, and it's handwriting on the wall with the UCLA coach and getting ready to, the former Cincinnati coach, I'm drawing a blank, wanting to get the hell out of there. I mean, he's complaining about the travel. Cronin. I mean, he's killing his team. I mean, being sarcastic now. Oh, no, never. We talked about Garcia trying to attack his left side. And he has been.
You got to talk to Lincoln Riley. He took that job without ever thinking that this is something that he would have to deal with.
Well, Lincoln Riley had offers in the SEC and went to the Pac-12. And oh, wait, I'm in the Big Ten now. Yeah.
Never expected to be.
Yeah. So, Minnesota, Penn State, what's your angle there?
Well, it's the same type of thing as we just saw. Minnesota, obviously, a great week, probably the best week in basketball they've had in a while. They swept the L.A. trip, beat USC, great comeback on Saturday, and then they beat UCLA on Tuesday, another amazing comeback. So they're out there, West Coast, travel spot. Now, they're going to fly back. Now, this is a weird game because Penn State, off a nice win against Nebraska where the offense is humming. Can they get their first road win? Well, the spread says they probably can because Minnesota, I saw in Ken Palm, is -2. So I'm going to lean to Penn State here, just off the ridiculous week Minnesota had. There's nothing more than a letdown. You're just out in sunny Southern California. Now you're coming back to Minnesota to play sleepy old Penn State, who doesn't have a road win all year. So it's just a spot play. I would never usually be betting Penn State on the road, but I think it's just a perfect opportunity to sell high on the Minnesota team that just pulled off 2 ridiculous wins on the West Coast.
All right. Anything else that you like tomorrow for the full slate of college basketball?
I got a couple hold your nose plays. There's Virginia Tech, who scored 36 points. That's correct, 36 in a total game versus Boston College the other night. They're heading down to South Beach or Coral Gables to face Miami. Now, Miami is 2-13 the last 15 games, but Miami's favored. So I just think if Virginia Tech has any chutzpah at all, they're going to have to show up and play a little bit better than they played against Boston College. The 36 points is completely embarrassing. Boston College is one of the worst defensive teams in the country, and to only score 36 points against them is, like I said, it's just kind of a joke. So I'm going to say hold your nose play, take Virginia Tech on the road, getting 2 points. There's also a bunch of other regular spot plays where you got Missouri going to Arkansas off the big win. You might want to look at Arkansas. You got Texas going to South Carolina. Is South Carolina going to go undefeated? Go defeated in the SEC? Might be their only chance for a win. Same thing with the angled Mississippi State off the big win against A&M. They're going to Oklahoma. There's just a lot of different spot plays. I'm not sure if I'm going to play them all because those ones haven't been working as well this year as in previous years. I really like the travel plays a little bit more.
And there's no doubt Arizona play against Houston was tough beat. In control for most of that game. That was tough beat. They went to Provo and won by double digits handily. They might pop BYU coming off of a little spot as well in their big win.
Hey, I'll give you one, Jimmy. That BYU team going to Arizona. Arizona seems to play a higher pace of play when they play at home than they do on the road. And this BYU team, they do not defend deep into the shot clock. And Arizona's 44th in tempo. So I look for that game to be a little bit faster pace. And if BYU gets behind, they're going to be bombing threes the whole game. I saw 153 as a Ken Palm total. I'm going to probably look to go over in that game.
Arizona and the over in that game. Good luck to you, Chris. Great stuff as always. Thank you, buddy.
All right, thanks, Jimmy. Talk to you guys later.
All right, don't forget our friends at Legacy Title. Chad Reynolds, a Legacy Title for all of your real estate closings. 296-0060, full-service title company servicing all of South Louisiana. Fast, friendly, professional services, which you get when you dial 296-0060. Our great staff over at Legacy Title. Ashley Donald, Mariana Haynes, Adrian Galata, Michael Platt. Buying, building, refinancing, nobody chooses but you. Choose Chad Reynolds and Legacy Title, 296-0060. Come on, Ventura, missing a 3. Damn it.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch. A little golf thrown in. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy, Charlie, and Troy. 3 best buddies sitting around talking sports bets. Let's welcome in Troy Macker from Bet Rivers.
Troy out on assignment this weekend holding Max's hands in the Big Apple. So let's get a report, see how Country Come to Town's doing. How's the little apple?
They got overtime last night.
The little praline doing in the Big Apple, Troy. Give us a report on the social side of the group, huh?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Max is not dressed for the weather. I can tell you that. He's wearing last night he was wearing a bright purple LSU dugout jacket, and it's about 10 degrees and snow. So he didn't have a hat or gloves, but we only have to use those once every 9 years. So I'm not surprised by that. No, it's been good. Went to Madison Square Garden last night to see the Knicks not cover 12.5. I had to force overtime against the Bulls. But Max has been soaking it up. You know, as soon as he got off the bus from the airport, went and got a full pizza pie. I think he's going to Sbarro today, so he's living it up. Did some touristy things, but he also flew in early, so he's getting the full experience.
Did y'all get to go and check out the hockey after the Knicks game last night?
Yeah, and you know, we were lucky enough to be sitting in seats that had TVs in front of us. So while we were watching a listless second quarter, we were watching the first period of the hockey game right in front of us, and then we went to a local establishment right around the corner to watch the overtime period. And I can tell you that, you know, New York City is a great place to watch a U.S. sporting event, and the place was packed with everyone chanting USA for the last 10 minutes or so of overtime before Connor McDavid netted one to give Canada the win.
I mean, one of those shots in overtime was supposed to go in by the U.S., huh, Troy?
Yeah. You know, they had a couple really good onslaughts, but they were, you know, shots from out pretty deep, and they were definitely putting pucks on net, which is something, you know, hockey people talk about all the time. You just need to put a puck on net, and it could go in. You get a bounce, and they weren't getting the bounces. But it was such a competitive game back and forth. I mean, there were opportunities in the last 5 minutes in overtime for both teams. And the goaltending was very good down the stretch.
So Michigan and Michigan State tonight. We talked about it with our previous guest and Chris Massero. You watch this guy Wolf, the 7-footer? You know, Dusty May's got dueling 7-footers, and he and Golden, and it's been a little clumsy at times. What's your thoughts on it? How much have you watched them? And they're 12-0 at home, 5 at home in the Big Ten, but a close ones. After they beat Washington by 16, they won by 4 and 2 points. And Michigan State is one of the better teams, better than most of those teams that they just squeaked by. But just thoughts on watching Michigan, especially how they utilize Wolf.
Yeah, you know, I was out on Michigan to start the season. It was very much a wait and see because of the new coach, new culture, certainly bringing in players like Vlad Golden from Florida Atlantic, who was very good. And they have exceeded expectations. Dusty May has done an exceptional job. I think they are not as good as people think. I think they're at the bottom of the elite class of the Big Ten, but I think there is a gap in between the top of the second tier where, like, Oregon resides. But I'm very high on Michigan State. It's hard not to be at this time of year with Izzo, and he has a culture of players that is a very Michigan State type team. But I wonder, coming off that, high level elite game against Purdue, will they have the energy against Michigan? You say, how can you not? It's a rivalry game, Friday night, essentially standalone game. It should be very close. You know, I'd probably lean Michigan State a little bit here. They're 2.5 point underdogs. I'd probably take them to cover. And honestly, at that point in a rivalry game, I might just take the plus 123 on the money line. But I think having two bigs, back to your point, can be tricky business because unless one can really stretch the floor, it can be tough. You don't see two bigs a lot, but it has worked for them in spots. And I think Michigan can be a dangerous team in March, but I think they're punching a little bit above their weight class, so to speak.
Charlie, what I'm talking about, I don't know how closely you watch Michigan, but when you have a point center, basically, I mean, he's a big, thick guy, and he can handle the ball better than most 7-footers of his size. But speaking, they're in turnover rate, they're 330 something.
Yep.
So I mean, they have, it's improved, and this is part of the and what are you going to do? You got two 7-footers. You have them both on a block. I mean, it's so, May is sort of experience. It's just really different looking. And sometimes he can really make the pass that you just don't see, that opposing teams don't see often. And sometimes he's dribbling it off his thigh, for a turnover.
Well, a couple things stand out to me about him. Number one, he makes enough threes to make you guard him, okay? It's not like he's a sharpshooter, but he makes enough. He doesn't shoot a ton of them, but he makes enough. The other thing is he's a really, really strong offensive rebounder.
Wolf will bang. He will bang now.
He'll go in there and he'll get a lot of putbacks. So those are the things that work. The things that don't work, you've already talked about. So I understand what they're trying to do with him. It's creative. Is it enough to make a deep run? And these two teams are going to play each other twice in the next 2 weeks. They finish up in East Lansing to finish this season. So it kind of feels like one of those, the home team's going to win a 1 or 2 possession game, both times. If I can kind of look ahead.
Sure, yeah, it's what I'm talking about, the rare, and he's getting better in the assist department, but he's still just a shade behind a guard. But he's second on the team in assists, but clearly he's averaging double-digit rebounds. So yeah, he will bang.
A lot of those on the offensive end.
Yeah, he's how many of the 10 does he average?
He leads the team. I don't know exactly what the number is, but I know he leads the team by a significant margin on the offensive end.
Offensive rebounds, 2 of his 10.
That's it?
Yeah,
it's just two?
2 of his 10 per game. So,
well, that leads him.
yeah. I mean, yes. But 10 is a lot to average. You got some of the lines starting to trickle out, Troy. You got how about this one where you are in Madison Square Garden, where you were last night? Duke and Illinois. What would you think that? Have you seen it already, or what do you think that line would be?
No, that's one of the ones I have not seen yet that I've been looking for. It should be, by the time I refresh that Rivers at the end of this, it should be up there. If I had to guess, is it Duke minus 9.5? I would. Illinois has not beaten a lot of credible teams in the last month and a half. They've beaten that second tier in the Big Ten. Duke is elite of the elite, right up there with Auburn. And Madison Square Garden is home away from home for Duke. It's probably the most played at venue outside of Cameron Indoor. So I would think it's like 9.5 if I had to guess.
Good job, 10.5. So right there. We're up against the clock. But I know you want to get back to your travel schedule. But how strong was the hockey handle last night?
It was bigger than all but 2 games of last year's Stanley Cup final in terms of total money, and those were Game 6 and Game 7. That now rates as the 3rd most wagered on hockey game since January 1st of 2024. It was like 5th in total tickets, dating back to January 1st of last year. Because obviously we're going to take more money on the USA than Canada. That's obviously people bet with their heart.
Right.
Got to rep the USA. But the sportsbook was only up mid to low 6 figures. So it was a win for us. But and nearly 40% of all the tickets wagered were live. So that was one thing. I thought this game could reach top tier in terms of betting if it were close. And it was close the whole game, so people were very invested in the live betting.
Get back to your travel schedule. Get Max back home in one piece and have some fun, man. We'll see you on Monday. Thank you, Troy. Have a good weekend.
Thanks, guys. Talk to you then.
United Community Bank, your business is our business. We support the hard-working force behind local business. From initial start loans to ongoing planning and assessments, United Community Bank is here for you. Contact our great team of bankers, Heath Meir, Nicole Glover, Hunter Creed, David Campbell, David Henry, and Prentice Wilkes. United Community Bank, with locations from Baton Rouge to Golden Meadow, we've been serving the people of South Louisiana for over 50 years. United Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at lunch with Otten Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
GM Joe making moves up in Cincinnati. Bengals cut Sheldon Rankins. Once upon a time was a first-round pick of the Saints. Saves them a little under $10 million on the salary cap. He gonna get what he wants, Jimmy. He gonna get those guys. He's gonna He's gonna get Higgins. He's gonna get Hendrickson. He's gonna get Chase and him. They're all gonna get paid. I don't know what's going to be left after all of those guys get paid. But we see this more in basketball, but the lead player actually being the GM, like I said, we see this a lot in basketball. But this is, even Mahomes doesn't really, finagle too much with the salary cap in Kansas City or Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. This is Burrow taking over, admittedly, a very weak front office and saying, this is what I want.
Very weak organization.
Yeah.
And he's thrown his demands around. I'm not crazy about it, to be honest. I think it's counterproductive to publicize, some of the sort of these things, but this is how he's putting pressure on him. I would have accepted his input privately as opposed to publicly. I don't think it helps anyway.
I would have, too. Be interesting to see how this experiment goes. Sheldon Rankins out in Cincinnati. We're back with hour number 2 here at Rufino's on Highland Road. Come by and see us for lunch. Live at lunch 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
All right, time to bring in Bruce Marshall, former executive editor of the Gold Sheet. We miss those. We miss those days when we could use your point spread values to project college football lines back in the day. Bruce was where I was. I did a game. I used to do the play-by-play for the Southern Jaguars. One of my trips was San Luis Obispo, Charlie. Remember that? Huh?
Yeah, I had to pay for it. I remember that.
Yes, indeed. And how was it? And I think it was our team, UC San Diego, was at Cal Poly SLO last night. Bruce, how was San Luis Obispo?
Oh, it's great. I had never been to a game there, even at San Luis Obispo, even though my brother went to school there. My sister-in-law, well, that's where they met, and my nephew all went there. But I'd never been to a game, but it's a nice, the campus is really nice, and they got like this big beach volleyball thing outside of the gym there, so it's a little bit different. But the atmosphere is actually pretty good in there. I mean, Cal Poly's kind of exciting this year, but UCSD is very good. And you can see them rolling along, 23-4 now. Great point spread record, one of the best in the country. They do a lot of things well, and Cal Poly came at them last night. A lot of three-pointers in the game. That's one thing. UCSD, it's an effective five-guard offense they use. I mean, everybody's sort of the same, but they ended up pulling away, and they got another point spread cover last night, and they now take the lead in the Big West. It's sort of aiming toward a UCSD-UC Irvine showdown, probably in the Big West tournament. Although Northridge did upset Irvine last night in Irvine. So we might have another contender in the Big West tournament coming up. But I think UCSD is probably the favorite. This is a good little team. I'm not sure what they can do in the dance if they get in there, but they could be an awkward first-round foe because they shoot so well. And if they hit these threes, I mean, like a lot of teams, they'll have a chance.
Well, Bruce, before we get to the hockey and all the things and weekend basketball and all that, the kids from Tuscaloosa are leaning on all of my resources for some lines on tonight's intramural boxing match on campus. EJ's roommate, Lucas Schramm, the middleweight boxing match against Birmingham's George Kane, huh? Bruce, any expert? I'm leaning on you. I mean, only you can give me Cal Poly SLO. And where was that other gym you went to? There's about 6 people in watching it somewhere in Florida. But anything on the boxing match tonight?
Stetson. It was. They didn't have a lot of people on that one either. I'm leaning on you and Ethan for this one, but I'll take the Alabama. Yeah, Luke Kane. Is that it? Yeah.
You going with Kane plus 45 against Schramm?
One zone in the making, maybe. So let's go that way. Let's take the Bama kid.
I'm gonna. Well, they're both from Bama, so I mean they.
They're both from Bama. Okay.
Yes. One's from Baton Rouge and one's from Birmingham. So.
Oh well, I'll take the Baton Rouge kid then. I'll take the. Baton Rouge
come on, you gotta have a little bit more grit. Gonna be a little enemy territory.
LSU's done
a little bit of a road bout here, but Lucas opened up $1.35. Been up to 175. So getting the public support right now, Charlie.
LSU's won more games in the football teams won more games in Tuscaloosa than they have in Baton Rouge the last 20 years.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean,
I still talk about Bear Bryant's first game he ever coached was against the 58 Tigers in Mobile. I ran into a guy at the Beau Rivage, and he says, "Yes, this guy's old." He said the bleachers in the end zone collapsed. I said, "You know that too?" I said, "Ain't many people alive that still remember that."
Yeah.
So they brought in extra bleachers, portable end zone bleachers, because there was some excitement with Bear Bryant coming back. But that was LSU's national championship team, their first one in 1958. And Brucey, my dad, they beat them 13-3. I mean, and said, "Look, they shaking hands with the Alabama players." Said, "Look, you guys keep hitting like that, y'all going to win some games." It said, Coach Bryant didn't think so. Practice full pads tomorrow on campus 7 a.m. So he was trying to lay the foundation, like being competitive was not good enough. I wonder if the Kachucks were practicing in full pads this morning, at 7 a.m. I mean, Bruce, I know you're like us. I mean, this hockey exhibition tournament completely it gives us renewed hope that they care, even though something besides the money. There's some pride involved in the sport that they participate, and in the same sense, completely embarrasses the NBA.
Yeah, and I wonder, Jimmy, and we touched upon this briefly before, and you were watching that last night, I know. But if the NHL has given a blueprint for All-Star games, at least for the NBA. I mean, the NFL is also, long gone with what it's done with the Pro Bowl and all. But the NBA might want to, and we've seen this mentioned in the media, and they might want to consider a format like this with the USA versus the world sort of thing for their All-Star game. It's going to be a little bit of a manufactured thing, but what the heck? I mean, the NBA All-Star Weekend, the competitive portion of it now has turned into just sort of a circus, and I would not be surprised if Adam Silver takes a lead from Gary Bettman this time and actually institutes something like that, some sort of an international thing for the All-Star game in the NBA. Otherwise, I think they ought to just do away with the NBA All-Star. I didn't watch a whit of it last weekend, and I know a lot of people who watch the NBA didn't either. But like the NHL fans who were tuned in to the Four Nations, that was a brilliant idea. I could see they wouldn't have a tournament like that probably in the NBA, just a one game USA in the world. That might be the way to go. We'll see.
So, okay, brilliant idea. But did you think it would be this good, Bruce? Now, listen, you got a great game too, with a lot of drama, a lot on the line. It was certainly competitive. Did you think it would be this good?
Not quite this good. I thought it'd be good. I mean, this turned out to be really crackling, though. But it reminded me, Jimmy, when they had, the NHL players, and they weren't playing in the last Olympics, but there were a couple Olympics before that. A couple of the Olympic ice hockey tournaments in recent memory, especially that one up in Vancouver in 2010. That's about as good at international hockey as I've ever seen. So I thought last night had the potential. They didn't have all the countries in there. You didn't have Russia, didn't have the Czechs. But Finland, Sweden, USA, Canada, that's a pretty good foursome. So we've seen this before in hockey like that. But it did, I thought it'd be good, but it was even better than I thought.
The hockey can be good every year. I think the political thing, we don't do that much here. But listen, if the president doesn't make the comments about Canada being the 51st state, then the Canadians don't boo the national anthem. If the Canadians don't boo the national anthem, the Chuck brothers don't drop the
I'm not sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
Well, Bruce,
you tell me.
I don't know if they drop the puck before they drop the puck if they're not booing the anthem.
Bruce, what do you think?
I think it added a little spice to it. I think it was going to be good anyway. In the fights, I don't know. I mean, the crowds, and I think it.
So both of you were elsewhere last night, and they showed the conversation at the dinner table with the Kachucks.
Yeah.
And it wasn't so much. It was part of it, but it was. He knew his son was going in there to start a fight, and it was more like, we're not getting pushed around. You guys have kind of owned us in this series a little bit, and we're going to let you know in this game. This was before they won.
Yeah.
Okay, they won 3-1, but he was a tone setter for his team, like we ain't backing down type of thing. Wasn't so. It was more about the Canada's owning the series on the ice as opposed to off of the ice. And his dad was like, I could see it in his eyes. He's doing this right now. And so that's and that's what Kachuk talked about as well. If you watch the pregame, which is really good last night,
and maybe so, but it's been a while since they went best on best U.S. and Canada. I mean, they don't do this every year. So
when's the last time?
The Olympics in, Bruce, help me out here, 18, I believe. Absolute best on best.
It wasn't the last. The Winter Olympics before, and I was getting a little confused in the years of the Winter Olympics. But the Winter Olympics before the last one was the last time the NHL was there. But let me say this about the Kachucks. You're very right, Jimmy. Although I've heard those guys will go argue it at McDonald's if they don't think their agent's muffin is right. So
I mean, they could be the Hanson brothers. I get it.
So I don't know if it took them booing the national anthem for them to,
You may be right with the
well,
I get it.
If you watched the pregame, they gave you perspective, and that's what you're watching. It's not just you got seven ex players up there bouncing 10 seconds apiece. This was good stuff. It was really, and it provided little storylines and insight to the actual games itself. So the bookmakers are happy. They got the result they wanted. They got the Canada and the under in it last night. But Bruce, I got to give the NFL a pass. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the physical nature of that sport. Can we really blame when they're asking them to play way more games than they're supposed to? Okay, I could give them a pass. It's just do away with it. Announce a Pro Bowl team for honors only, and that's it. If you want to do a skills, but I give those guys a pass. The basketball players, come on, man, give me a break.
I totally agree with the NFL. I think that long ago, it was a financial thing. Long ago, when they started the Pro Bowl, that the actual paycheck meant something to the guys. But I totally agree with you. It's just turned into flag football circus and things. And I'm seeing guys trying to analyze and handicap the pro football, flag football at the Pro Bowl. I mean, that's absurd. So get away with that. I agree with you. Just name the teams. If you want to have a little skills thing, fine. But don't have some flag football game. I mean, that really devalues the whole thing.
No, I mean they put the beach. Poor Robert Edwards never was the same after he tore his ACL in the beach flag football. Okay, I mean with the lava wasn't available. I mean, it's
nerve damage, man. It cost that guy's career.
No, absolutely, 100%. And I'm sorry, those guys, any ex players, that's too many games they're playing already. And no, I could give those guys a pass. Playing basketball. That's not exactly the same. They can play that. Brucey, we've got Michigan State tonight and a bunch of mid-majors. But you tell me, and it's going to be another theme, the interesting piece. Okay, Dusty May's got dueling 7-footers. How do you use them? Man, the point center with Wolf, he's kind of doing. I thought it was clumsy early. It's getting better. They have won a lot of close games against teams not quite as tough as Michigan State. They're undefeated, though, 12-0 at home, 5-0 in the Big Ten. Michigan is at home at Chrysler. The last 4 Big Ten wins by 4, and 2. Looking at 2.5 against Tom Izzo, the record-setting Tom Izzo and the Spartans.
Yeah, in first place, the Big Ten would be first seed in the tournament at stake here tonight. You're right about Dusty May. I mean, a lot of times you got twin 7-footer. I mean, Purdue a couple of years ago with Edey and the other big kid, they didn't always play him at the same time. But Dusty May and he's got this little screen and roll thing going with Wolf and Golden. I mean, really interesting. But that's part of the puzzle there because it's all transfers that he's got there. Who are contributing. I mean, Roddy Gale came from Ohio State and Donaldson. I mean, they are, and they spread the floor, too. They've not only got that screen and roll, but they've got a guy who can shoot threes in Burnett. So they really do spread the floor, and they're getting hot. I think this team, because of the uniqueness of this roster and the way they did right around New Year's. It looked like they put it together. They went in a little lull for about 2 weeks, and now they're hot again, 6 straight wins. This is the Big Ten team, I think. There's 2 of them really watching in the dance. So these guys in Wisconsin, which is playing really well. But I think Michigan's got a chance actually to run it all the way to the Final Four. I know Michigan State is tough, but I did also see them lose a couple of games in L.A. a couple of weeks ago. So after that 18-2 start, they are 3-3. It'll probably be close. Most of these games are close. Both these teams are playing lately. But I'm going to lean to Michigan a little bit here. I think something special is cooking there with Dusty May. The possible distraction of the Indiana job, I don't think he's going to leave Ann Arbor for Indiana. No. He's got a great gig there right now, and I don't think he would that would settle too well with anybody. So I'm gonna roll with Michigan again, and I would keep rolling with these guys. I think they win them close, but they do win them, and this is a short price tonight. Good game, very good tonight.
Anything else tonight on the card that you like?
Watch this Yale team. I know Ivy, but we've seen some Ivy teams. We've seen Yale, win games in the dance in recent years, and the better Ivy teams have been very competitive. in recent years. This looks like the best Ivy team this year. They have not lost in league play yet. They are well ahead in the league. But this offense and James Jones, give him credit. I mean, this is his 25th year there. I can't believe he's been there that long.
Wow!
But man, he's had some good teams. This is the only team. This is an 83 point per game Yale offense. This is the highest scoring Yale team we've ever seen. This is the only team in the country, Ivy League or not. I mean, they played non-Ivy League teams. I mean, they played Purdue, Minnesota, some other teams in pre-league play. Akron, which was a good team leading the MAC. They beat Akron by 16. This is the only team in the country that is top 10 in both field goal percentage and three-point shooting percentage. So, they can put the ball in the hole. They just beat Cornell handily, hit 103 on them a few weeks ago in Ithaca. Cornell is off a 39-point loss to Dartmouth. So I think they're just going to be overwhelmed. This is not that prohibitive a price tonight for the Eli in beautiful New Haven. So I think I would give Yale a shot there. One other one in the MAC tonight, kind of interesting. I'm going to give Miami, Ohio a mulligan for last week, and they lost 2 at Michigan, at Western and Eastern Michigan on the road after winning 13 of 14. Before, I mentioned about Yale in the top 10 field goal percentage and three-point. Up till last week, that was also Miami, Ohio in there. They can really put the ball in the net, so they've fallen off a little bit in their field goal percentage because last week they get Kent State tonight. They're a very short price favorite.
Minus 1.5.
Oxford tonight. I'm going to give Miami a chance to bounce back at home. They have not lost at home in MAC play. Again, team that can shoot the ball extremely well. So short price, Miami O tonight might be worth a look in the MAC over Kent State.
All right, Yale minus 9.5 right now. Miami O minus 1.5. I can tell you what, the Yale, for all the reasons you recognize too, get that now if you are going to get on that one, because I would assume that thing was going to move up based on the previous games and the trends and what's that going. Tennessee opened up 2.5. It's already down to pick'em at A&M tomorrow. Mississippi State following up their win against Texas A&M. 1.5 at Norman against Oklahoma. Houston 7.5 at home against Iowa State. Alabama opened up 7.5. It's up to 8.5 already against Kentucky. Duke 10.5 at the Garden against Illinois. Any of the highlighted games for tomorrow catch your attention?
Well, I'll tell you one that's caught my eye in the SEC again, and it's one other one there with the ranked team. That's Missouri going into Fayetteville tomorrow. And Missouri off that rousing game the other night. They are really good, and this is a team that really struggled last year in the SEC. Really struggled, and give Dennis Gates has got to start getting some votes, I think, for Coach of the Year. They've got great balance. They score about 84 points per game. Again, great shooter, almost 50% from the floor, better than 37% from Tripleville. So they're awfully good. But here's Calipari. They hung around against Auburn the other night. What is this? Yeah. 5-6 straight spread covers. They slowed Auburn down. He has got these guys, and we talked about them a couple of weeks ago on this show. And as odd as it seemed, with the injuries and the specific injury to Boogie Flynn, they started to play better after he got hurt. And they have just been able to control the pace. They've got Jonell Davis going again.
He's more comfortable, isn't he? Yeah.
Yeah, and he had a little off game against A&M before that, but all double digits prior to that since Flan went out, and he had not done much since he transferred from FAU. They've been able to move Wagner into back to the point guard where he's a little bit more comfortable. I was really surprised, look at some of the stats of the game the other night for Arkansas. Ivicic, the big kid, had a terrible game against Auburn. He has normally been a pretty reliable. He's scored 25 and 27 in recent games, 0 for 10 from the floor, 0 for 9 on triples, and they still hung around the other night with the big kid not doing much. I think this is a real slippery banana peel here for Missouri tomorrow. So I'm going to keep riding Calipari until they don't cover a game, and they are, even though they lost, their profile for the dance, they're probably toward the cut line, but I think they might make it safely in with a couple more wins here down the stretch.
Addition by subtraction, maybe. There's no doubt. Jonell Davis looks way more comfortable in his role since Bland has been knocked out. Great stuff as always, Bruce. Good luck to you this weekend. We'll talk to you next week. Thank you, buddy.
Have a good weekend, boys. Thanks.
All right, don't forget, we talked about Charlie loving those cinnamon king cakes from Town Square Pizza. Hey, if you're going to do the Artemis or Orion Ball tomorrow night, just when you order at the Town Square Pizza, 408-8088, 408-8088. Just give your name and table number at time of ordering, and king cakes will be waiting when your guests arrive. Order before noon on the day or before the event, and contact GM at townsquarepizza.net or 408-8088. And to detail, chocolate chip, cinnamon,
cream cheese,
chocolate
chip with the cream cheese,
yes,
and praline.
Yeah,
that's
chocolate chip, cinnamon. You can do the cream cheese by itself or with any of those, and so. But they do them to order. So call ahead and reserve your king cakes. Town Square Pizza, Square King Cakes this carnival season.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
At lunch with Ott and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Remember, the show's available on demand, LouisianaSports.net, 104.5ESPN.com. You can get lots of great stuff for free at LouisianaSports.net. Tennessee and A&M tomorrow, probably the highest-rated game in the Southeastern Conference. Tennessee's opened up a 1.5-point favorite here.
It opened up 2.5. It's down to pick 'em now.
It's down to pick 'em
yeah.
now. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm showing 1.5 where I'm looking, but a little bit surprising that Tennessee would open as a favorite. They've been so-so
I was
on
surprised.
the road.
I thought
A&M's 12-1 at home, and the loss was a very hotly contested game against Alabama that they ended up losing by 6.
I think A&M's trending fine. I mean, they lost to Mississippi State. That's fine. Mississippi State had to have a home win at some point. I would have put A&M as a slight favorite in this one, so I was wrong. Now snooze through the opportunity to catch 2.5, but no, pick 'em. I think A&M should be. I thought the wrong team was favored in the opening line here. I would have put A&M about 2.5.
Real mixed bag for Tennessee on the road. They had a 30-point drubbing at Florida, where they just completely run out of building, and they returned the favor when they went back to Knoxville. But they gave Auburn all they wanted. That was a 2-point game at Auburn, and that was a back-and-forth game. It was hotly contested, a big defensive game. So they've shown out at times where they can put up a big effort on the road, and they've shown out where they've completely spit the bit. So I don't know, which Tennessee team do you think you're going to get? The one that lost by 30 at Florida, the one that lost by 2 at Auburn?
Well, certainly A&M's not as explosive and not capable to put on that type of offensive explosion that Florida did. But it's they're capable of defending. I think this is what I want to see the total in this game, because this could be a rock fight.
130.5.
Yeah, it could be that. That's low. That's low, and it could be in the the 50s or low 60s. The one thing when you have a total that low, they could score 15 points in the last minute if they're hit a 3, foul, hit a bucket, foul, and that stuff. But it's that is a low college basketball total.
It is. What you really want is a blowout there, and if you get a blowout, maybe you lose the total anyway.
So, but Tennessee and A&M are they're that cluster of teams that really is committed on the defensive end of the floor, that is prone to going through scoring droughts. I throw St. John's in there. Who else, Charlie? I'm trying to think of. There was
defensively.
Ole
Miss,
Houston,
for sure.
Obviously.
Yeah.
But A&M, Tennessee, Houston, St. John's is kind of those teams. They're elite teams. They're elite defensive teams that sometimes we know about the point guard for Tennessee. I mean, he can be erratic. I think he gained some perspective in his injury, in sitting on the bench the following game after they lost that Tennessee game as well. And the team played well when he was out. The short term, they need Ziegler, and Ziegler is their X factor. If he can create off the bounce, for his teammates, man, they are so much better. They just are. When he tries to force it for his own shot, they suffer. And so it's just that simple. And he should be better. And I love when he takes the guys down low. He's pretty crafty on finishing his own shot for a little guy. He shoots a very high percentage in that situation. And he's calmed down. He's not shooting 8 non-threes a game. He's shooting about 4. And that's the number he needs to be at. Keep him honest where they have to guard him, but you're not a volume shooter at less than 30%.
Since he took the 17 shots against Auburn and Kentucky and made one of them, they've played 4 games, and he's shot the ball 14 times in 4 games. Okay?
So three and a half a pop.
And
that's perfect.
And out of the 14 shots, you know how many he's made?
Oh, it took like 10, 11.
10. Yeah, 10 out of 14 since going 1 for 17 because you're shooting the ball about almost 4 times a game instead of 9 or 10.
He's being more selective with his shots, and that's the thing. Yes, when they back off on, I want you shooting it when you have a clear shot. But, he's just not the volume shooter. So he's limited,
And since then, Jimmy, not just from 3, but he is shooting well over 60% from the floor overall. Okay, I mean he's 14 for 22 in his last 2 games. That was against Vandy and UK. That's winning basketball.
That's the smartest approach. And those 4 games happened after he got injured, got out the game, was poor, was probably a low point. Now he hadn't shot 1 for 17. Those stretches haven't happened often, but that was a low point too. And I mean, it's like the quarterback sitting down for a couple of possessions and coming back with a different perspective, and they needed it. I mean, something about that, Charlie, and I think Alabama's going to be in that situation tomorrow. I think they in a spot where they are y'all going to defend? Y'all going to? I mean, they may be more prone to listen to their coach right now more than ever. Ohio State, after being beaten by Michigan, and if you don't think losing to Michigan is a low point, especially after you lose the 3 games before, were they a different team? Yes. Ziegler has been a different player since he got perspective, and I'm thinking that Alabama team is going to put on a.
I'll be surprised if that's not a big effort
bust them
tomorrow.
Pretty good tomorrow, and I don't think Lamont Butler's coming back.
Well, not tomorrow for sure.
Well, yeah. So. No, I'm talking about for this game. Yeah, I'm not talking about this particular matchup. The spot. I loved Missouri during the week. I thought it was going to be a hangover no matter who was involved. There was a lot in that game last Saturday, 1 versus 2 ever. In the SEC, and it's Auburn, Alabama. That's a lot. And it was 59 points at half. You can't win a game you give up 59 points and a half. So I'm looking for them to have a little bit more commitment on the defensive end, being back home. And you know what? No matter what Kentucky team comes into your gym, you'll always be excited to play them.
130.5 is a low total for college basketball, right? What you getting at A&M? It's a little higher.
Kentucky and Alabama, let me guess.
Go ahead.
163?
You're low.
165?
You're low.
167?
You're low. You're like playing the clock game when the price is right. Come on, Bob. 177.5.
177?
Yeah, it was 173.5. Auburn and Alabama.
That's 90 to 87.
And I can't tell you that that's not going to be the final score.
That was one of my over bets this year. Was Alabama at Kentucky. That was one of them earlier. They're two willing participants.
Yeah, they're gonna show. I'll be surprised there's not a big effort from Alabama tomorrow.
Yeah, we're on the same page. You might want to get that because it's kind of creeping up right now. So don't forget our friends at Total Maintenance. Total Maintenance again. It's chilly, I understand, but now is the time to get that AC unit checked. Make sure that everything is cleaned, so when we start stressing these AC units more, they're going to be lower monthly bills. You got a part that's it's okay right now, but when we really start stressing those units a lot, this thing is going to cause a more costly repair. will take care of that for you. And also extend the lifetime of your unit. Nobody likes that call. Oh, yeah, you need a whole new air conditioner unit. Now's the time to get it done, and it's just $79 instead of the normal $179. So one-time AC visit, just $79 from Total Maintenance. Call my buddy Lucas Ragusa at 480-1000. 480-1000. We are Total Maintenance.
Live at Rufino's, live at lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Jimmy Ott's 5-pack of picks, brought to you by Supreme Rice. Make sure you use Louisiana rice, grown by Louisiana farmers since 1936. Available at most local grocery stores. Supreme Rice.
And if you're going out tailgating for LSU baseball anytime in the near future, get your jambalaya going. Make it with Supreme Rice, man.
Supreme Rice, baby. That parboiled rice, loving that stuff, man. It was really good. Every Monday at the Odd House, got my own little hold of mayo working with my Supreme Rice. And I always wondered why I couldn't get my rice at home, like restaurant quality rice. I got it now. It's just the rice you're using. It's that parboiled rice. I love that. Little 5-pack for you this weekend. 2 tonight and 3 tomorrow for college basketball. I'm going to took with Michigan -2.5. Again, this really different type of setup. They have a point center with Wolf, the point center for the Rarely do you have your leading rebounder by a lot, double-digit rebound guy running the point. He is, and it was clumsy earlier. I see an improved team in Michigan, and it's a lot because they're kind of learning their roles a little bit. A lot of how many guys on that Michigan new coach, new roster, the whole thing. They're getting better and better. Dusty May, and I think it's more and more comfortable. They're undefeated at home. I'll take Michigan -2.5 tonight against Michigan State. Also, Villanova at home. They are tough to beat at home. St. John's shot over 50% from the floor at Villanova and still lost. We know how they defend. I like Villanova tonight at home. The big boy is really having a nice year for them. Marquette, Marquette is, again, I just think that top 15 NET, top 15 ranking. I think a lot of that is based on some of the earlier accomplishments. I don't see them being a second weekend team in the tournament. So I got Villanova plus 1.5 at home. Another one that is going from Pickett to plus 1.5. Charlie, you're ahead of me on that one. You said that you just checked the A&M Tennessee game. Give me the home team here as well. Going to be a rock fight. Points will be at a premium, but I'll take the Aggies at home against Tennessee, plus the 1.5 to bounce back after their road loss. And then a couple of home favorites, both 7.5-point favorites. Now, we've got to be fair. Alabama's going to 8.5, but Arizona destroyed BYU, won by double digits at Provo. That's hard to do. That is hard to do. Emotional win for BYU at home. They swept the Kansas teams, Kansas State by double digits, Kansas by 30. Now they go on the road. Arizona's already beaten them. I like Arizona. Tough loss last week against Houston. They should have won, winning for most of the game. And then Alabama, for the reasons we stated previously. Like this spot, Kentucky, still no Lamont Butler. They come in underhanded. Alabama, after their low point of the season, I think this is a buy low spot for them. Then when you humbled a little bit, you listen to the coach a little bit more. Oates, this is your chance to get this crew to try and defend a little bit better, like Bama, minus 8.5 at home against Kentucky.
I'll throw you one bonus pick. I think you'll like this one. We got a line now in Missouri and Arkansas. Arkansas getting 2.5 at home against Missouri, coming off of that.
I like them too.
Yeah. I thought you would.
They're catching how many?
2.5.
Okay, I didn't see that line.
Yeah,
okay.
Arkansas, it's a 7 o'clock game. Arkansas catching 2.5, and Missouri coming off of that.
I've been riding Arkansas. I think like John L. Davis. I think the big guy who didn't. He had an off night. After the big nights against LSU, and who was the other team that they had such a big night? It's like 27-25.
Yeah.
But they could have won that game. It was a 7-point final. It was much closer than your typical 7-point wins for Auburn.
Yeah, I mean they've lost 3 out of 4, so it's easy to lose sight of the fact that
you showing?
Missouri minus 2.5.
Okay,
Arkansas
I'm showing
plus
1.5 now.
Okay. They went to Auburn. They were a 15.5-point, I think, underdog. They lost by 6. Lost by 7. They were an 8.5-point underdog at A&M. They lost by 8. They beat LSU by a dozen, and then they lost against Alabama at home by 4. So maybe the 1-3 straight up, maybe clouding that they are playing better. Arkansas,
well, a team that's playing better, it's getting a lot of people's control, and especially it's uncharacteristic traditionally for them, and that is Wisconsin. Scoring 94 and 95 points the last 2 games. They got Oregon at home, 7.5 at home, road-weary Oregon Ducks. That might be one where they blast them pretty good. And you know what a team that might bounce back, Charlie? The number 1 team in the country. It's not like a big bounce back,
yeah.
But they may slaughter Georgia. I did not like what I saw in Georgia at A&M. Well, if you wilt the first little run that an opponent makes on the road, well, Auburn going to make a run at some point, a couple of them. They may blast them out the gym.
Georgia,
it's a lot, like 18.5.
17.5 is what I'm showing. Not quite as bad as, we talked about South Carolina's margin of defeat on the road. But here's what Georgia has lost by on the road. They lost by 12 at Ole Miss. They lost by 18 at Tennessee. They did play a close game against Arkansas with 3. They lost by 30 at Florida. They lost by 21 at Alabama. So they have been absolute roadkill. They have been demolished, not close games at all, with the exception of one on the road. So it's a bunch of points to lay, but if I had to pick a side, I'd take the home.
Speaking of roadkill, Pot Gator making roadkill out of this Vallarta Mexico Open. Another birdie for the Pot Man. Pot Gator.
The Pot Man? It's an unfortunate nickname, huh? The Pot Man?
It's more and more legal every day, Charlie.
It doesn't mean it's a good nickname. You're right.
Pot Man. Wes Reynolds, Pot Man. The Pot Gator was one of his picks, his 4th pick. 75-1. He has a 4-stroke lead at the Mexico Open. So anyway.
Wow. Today's show brought to you by Coastal Capital Advisors, your full-service financial planners, because when it comes to retirement, no 2 situations are alike. Coastal Capital Advisors will work with you as well as your business partners and tax professionals to make sure your goals are achieved. It doesn't matter what your age is or what your income is. Coastal Capital Advisors will tailor-make a plan for you. I know, because that's what they did for me. For more information, contact Philip Fontenot and his staff at 337-981-1376. Online, coastalcapitaladv.com. Advisory services provided by New Age Advisors. Securities offered through New Age Securities, member FINRA, SIPC. Back to wrap it up here at Ruffino's Live at Lunch, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Live at Lunch with Odd and Hanny from Rufino's on Highland Road on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Back here at Rufino's Live at Lunch, Kellen Moore with another addition to his staff now. As expected, defensive coordinator Brandon Staley, late of the he was with the 49ers last year. 3-year stint as head coach of the Chargers. He spent time with the Rams, Broncos, and Bears before that. He is the defensive coordinator. It's obviously somebody that Moore knows, and he had also promised that he would have at least one former head coach on his staff, so Staley checks that box as well. We weren't crazy about him as a head coach, but as a defensive coordinator,
game manager. He's not. That's not his.
He will not be tasked with that.
4th and 17 at your own 12. Let's go for it.
No, they will not be asking his opinion on clock management or late game situational stuff. As a coordinator, he was fine. I mean, he had that Rams team. That's what catapulted him into the Chargers job. The Rams were first in the league in points and total yards allowed. Okay, they had some talent on that team. I mean, you had Aaron Donald in the middle, who was the best defensive player in football. You had Von Miller, who at the time was still a premier pass rusher, and those were just the highlights. So he had plenty of talent to work with, but they were really good. He was a bad head coach with the Chargers. Just no no way to steer around that. So and his record wasn't that bad. That was the funny thing.
Well, he had a decent roster, Charlie.
He did. They looked so underachieving.
The Chargers have been underachieving, and I think that they were close this year, and Harbaugh have a little bit more of his roster this year, and I expect them to be in the postseason this year.
Yeah. I don't hold the head coaching stuff against him in a coordinator's role, okay? We've seen plenty of guys that were really good coordinators, including one of the guys he coached for. He coached for Vic Fangio when he was in Denver. Fangio's been a fantastic assistant coach just about everywhere he's been.
Fangio's good.
He wasn't a good head coach, okay? Dennis Allen was fine as a defensive coordinator, wasn't a good head coach. So
one of my favorite things about Fangio's resume is they ran him off in Miami because he was too hard on him.
He was mean.
Mm-hmm. He was mean at practice.
We didn't like
kind of what Philadelphia needed, huh? You don't think there was a little culture shift in Philadelphia, the way they ended 2023 season in this past year?
The finger pointing at the end of last year for Philadelphia.
2023, you mean?
Yes, the 2023 season. I remember, now this was on the offensive side, but I remember Kelsey sitting on that bench with Jalen Hurts on one side of him and A.J. Brown kind of almost stalking in front of him. And it's like, man, this might not work. I don't know if it was all Fangio. I'm sure it had a lot to do with some other things too. But, yes, it definitely worked for them.
I mean, it was – see, when you're handicapping, a lot of times you got to catch things for about a week or two, and then that window of opportunity closes once the results come in. This Eagles at the end of the 2023 was an extended window ATM. I mean, it was a joke, man. I mean, they
completely collapsed.
They were 10-1. 10-1, and then lost 6 of 7. The one win was at home against the Giants.
Yeah,
if you remember, they didn't cover that one. They failed to cover 7 straight to end the season.
Was the beginning of that run when San Francisco went to Philly and demolished them? Yeah.
They were 10-1. They had just beaten Buffalo in overtime. It was a crazy game that they I don't think they covered though. But they won in overtime against Buffalo and Josh Allen. Another Buffalo kind of crazy collapse. Got killed by San Francisco. Killed by Dallas by 20. Beaten on Monday night, which the backup was at Locke. They beat them on Monday night, 20-17. They failed to cover. They were killing the Giants on Christmas Day. And then Amari Jackson had like the 100-yard pick six, and they were favored like 17 points. The Giants covered that one. They lost to Arizona at home, and they lost to the Giants the last week of the season. They got killed by Tampa Bay in the postseason. I mean, it was 7 in a row, and the one against the Giants was a lucky cover. That one Philadelphia should have won going, but they didn't. 7 in a row covers in the NFL.
Thanks to the folks here at Ruffino's Buffalo Oyster Shrimp Cocktail, Sea Bass, and Dry-Aged Strip on your specials menu today, along with a strawberry shortcake tiramisu. Thanks, everybody, for participating. On Monday, we will be at Big Mike's. For Jordan back in the studio and for Jimmy Ott, I'm Charles Hanniger saying thank you and good afternoon. Stay tuned for Hunt Palmer on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.